Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another late night stream of mine doing U-Boat again. So, here you see me pacing through the northern Atlantic, the Arctic seas, and I am searching for a convoy which I actually had on the screen and lost its tracking. But let me give you a bit of a background about the game, just in case that you don't know the details. This is actually U-Boat. It's a submarine simulation, as you might have guessed, and you slip into the role of a German submarine commander. And yeah, this game is being developed by a relatively small and unknown developers crew, and yeah, it's incredible what these guys actually did in the last years. So the game was published quite some years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I can't even tell exactly, and I actually acquired it pretty early, and it was on early access several years, but these guys actually kept developing. And even under early access, after something like 3 years, the game was already a fully grown-up game. And then, more than a year ago, they actually did the official release, and it's just great. I love the graphics, I love the atmosphere, and yeah, what you actually do is you move in a complete open world. So they have simulated, modeled the whole world, all the coasts of Europe and across the Atlantic and even to the Indian Ocean. Everything is available. And you can just go anywhere. The coasts are modeled beautifully, the depth of the sea bottom, everything that you need for traveling. But of course, it's most recommendable to not just go where you like, but go where your seniors like you to go. And so, what you can do in the game, and what I actually did do, is doing a complete playthrough through the game. So that means I started at the very eve of the Second World War in September 1939, and did mission by mission play through the whole history, more than 3.5 years up to now. We are in July 1943, so yeah, the war is 3.5 years old, which means that the tactics of the Allies, the weapons of the Allies change, improve, and things generally get harder. So we are on a patrol mission, and we actually finished it. We finished it in terms of having traveled the necessary mileage in the patrol area, and we also have sunk already the necessary tonnage. But still, I do have a few torpedoes left, which I would love to find another target for. On this patrol, we had 2 major actions. A few streams ago, we encountered an escort. Yeah, by the way, you see I'm playing on almost maximum difficulty level, which includes that the enemy positions are not automatically marked on the map, but you have to do all the tracking by yourself. Quite a nice feature. You don't need to do it, but it gives a lot of additional depth, I think. For me, this is great. So we detected a convoy moving that way. We intercepted it, and while infiltrating, right before we could fire any decent torpedo, we were discovered and had to flee. So After a long chase, we survived, escaped, and I decided to leave that heavily guarded convoy on its own and went back with frequent hydrophone checks, and we went on finding another convoy. And the infiltration of this convoy went textbook-like. We sank one ship. Well, I hoped it was two, but we didn't find the second one that I thought that we had sunk. And then again, the escort was upon us. We had to dive away. Quite some chase, but we survived. The convoy was moving on, and now I tried to pick up a signal of that convoy again, but we lost it. And what I would like to do now is to figure out where that convoy went to. So let's see if we can actually find it, because I would like to start another attack on that same convoy. Maybe take out one or two more ships. Yeah, this is this wonderful cross-section view, which is very specific for this simulation. And the crew, each single crew hand being simulated, gives you that very real feeling of not commanding just a machine by tapping keys on the keyboard, but really issuing commands and the crew then operating on the submarine. Here we are. We still have 4 torpedoes in the tubes and 3 spares, and the stern tube and the spare are still complete. So we do have quite some means to do another attack. Let's check. There is some water in the bilge. Yeah, that's just in uncritical. There's always a bit of water coming in. For example, when there is the change of watch on the conning tower, there might always come in a bit of water, particularly in this bad weather that we have. There is quite an enormous swell going on still, and it was even more stormy before, and right now the storm has actually calmed down a bit to 16 knots, but yeah, the swell is still there. Yes, not wet, just cold, you're right. I haven't. So I just, don't know, I wasn't very creative with regard to that, I have to confess. Yeah, hi, nice to have you in. Pleasure to see you. So today it was Friday. I hope you had a smooth slipping into the weekend. Okay, then let's see, it's 12 o'clock, lunchtime, in-game I mean, so let's do a little bit of time acceleration, change of watch, let's see that we keep up flank speed. Oh yeah, it's the storm started again.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Okay, it has calmed down a bit. So let's use that opportunity to do another hydrophone check, but yeah. we will see.
50 Meter.
Somebody's around. So hydrophone check as usual. The crew, off-watch crew, running to the fore compartment for additional diving ballast. Some of the officers here, Mr. Schulz, opening the valves to let the ocean, the sea water stream into the ballast tanks, and the crew manning the depth steers. And all this takes its time, and you actually see why it takes a little while until you actually go down. Tanks filled by now, at least the fore tank, and the aft tank is being filled. Yeah, for obvious reasons, while diving, the fore tank is filled first, flooded first. Down we go.
Aktuelle Tiefe 25 Meter.
Yeah, all the diving is so very dynamic. You really have that feeling that there is physics behind, and nothing is just like, just going down on rails or something. But you really have that feeling that the boat is moving 3D. And what happened? The guys have turned off the propellers and stopped the engine, and now we are gonna listen for 5 minutes down here at 50 meters, which should give us quite some range by now. 12 knots of wind speed. Yeah, probably would still have a bit of swell going, but now at least we get 75 miles radius of detection range.
Herr Kapitän. 50 Meter.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Actually, this one here, that was one single corvette, which seemed to have abandoned the convoy because they ran out of depth charts and decided to go back home to rearm. So this is one of these wonderful details of the game, where you really see that you're not fighting scripted missions, but that everything's dynamic and individual. So the question is, what would I do now? Yeah, they must have made a drastic change of course, and so now I don't know where to find them anymore. It's a bit of time acceleration, but
Anblasen.
they are gone.
Aktuelle Tiefe 30 Meter. Meter. Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Kurs setzen.
Yeah, let's get a little bit further south, west, and see if we find some other targets. We still have plenty of fuel, 73%. So that's uncritical. Discipline. Yeah, we are regaining discipline actually. Let's check the food in the galley. Yeah, everything just fine. One type of food at the moment is alright. The crew is still pretty happy. Before this mission here, they had a 3 months shore leave. Yeah, let's reduce speed again to cruise speed.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Mr. Schultz doing some navigation. That's good.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Natürlich, Herr Kaloy.
And let's do another hydrophone check.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy. Navigation besetzen.
Yeah, you see, we always have that delay. The crew has to prepare quite a few things before we can actually go down. And there she goes.
5 Meter. E-Motoren wechseln. Meter.
20 meters. Wind speed 8 knots. So we should get quite a bit of a detection range with that.
Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Yeah, again, the boat is going to be brought to 50 meters and then the engines will stop. And you really see the difference as soon as the engines are stopped. The hydrophone range is considerably increasing again.
50 Meter.
So the wind has quietened down, the sea has quietened down, so now we actually have our maximum possible hydrophone range of 90 miles radius.
Herr Kaloy,
Let's see if we hear something. Yeah, that's
50 Meter.
Mr. Schneider. His main job actually is doing the maintenance on the torpedoes, so this is pretty important to keep the torpedoes maintained.
50 Meter.
And at the moment he is working on the stern torpedo. Here, look at him. The stern torpedo needs a bit of maintenance as well. So it's always good to have all the torpedoes on high maintenance level
45 Meter.
so that you have them ready in any case. The point is, if you fire an unmaintained torpedo, it's pretty high probability that you get a dud.
Herr Kaloy,
Yeah, despite our enormous detection range, it seems like that there is no single propeller moving in that radius of the hydrophone. Yeah, by the way, we are doing the Arctic Convoy mission set, and we have already finished part 1 and part 2, which was to reach 50,000 and 100,000. And now, well, the final step is pretty large. We have to sink 250,000 merchant tons. We are with 175,000. So it's still, yes, 75,000 to go. Let's do a bit of time acceleration.
Vor 5 gewartet.
Yeah, okay, you see Mr. Schneider went 4 again and is now operating on Tube 2, doing the maintenance there.
Herr Kaloi,
Anblasen.
And there we go, back to the surface.
aktuelle Tiefe 30 Meter.
So what's happening? Somebody has opened the valves so that compressed air is going to be pushed into the ballast tanks, and the seawater is going to be pushed out by the compressed air back into the open sea where it belongs. And with empty ballast tanks, the boat pretty much pops up like a cork, being supported by the depth steers. So here you see Mr. Schneider again has finished maintenance on the torpedo of Tube 2, and I think he's gonna do the next one right away. Tube 3, yeah. Yeah, these bars here indicate the maintenance level. So what you see here is I have in Tube 1 the T5, the so-called Soundkönig torpedo, which is a torpedo with a sound-seeking mechanism, so it homes in on enemy propellers. This is, yeah, relatively seldom, or, well, you only usually have a few on stock at home. And my personal impression actually is, but that's unconfirmed, that these torpedoes have less kind of destructive power than the others. Then the Type 1 is a steam powered torpedo with the PI3, a very advanced pistol, so very low probability of duds. And the T3 is an electrically driven torpedo with the P2, which is already a pretty okay-ish pistol. Yeah, the steam-powered torpedo, that sounds pretty much like completely obsolete technology, but it's not, because the steam-powered torpedo still can go much faster. You could actually tune the speed, while the electric ones always go with the same speed, and you can make the steam-powered torpedoes move much faster, which sometimes is good, to fire a few slow and a few fast torpedoes, to let them all go off at the same time, so that the targets don't get any premature warning.
Vor 3 gewartet.
Kurs setzen.
Yeah, let's do a bit more time acceleration. 2 o'clock is the next change of watch. It's nighttime, So it doesn't look like that, but keep in mind that it's summer and that we are far in the north, and at that time we actually do have the midnight sun around here, and at 2 o'clock the sun is pretty high above the horizon. 2 o'clock at night time. Mark it. But this is actually pretty comfortable because you only have daylight attacks. I don't quite like night attacks. As I said, I'm playing with almost maximum difficulty level, so also including dark nights. So when you have no moon and bad weather, night attacks are near impossible to actually track down your targets.
Navigation besetzen.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Let's go for another 2 hours and then one hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf. 50
Here we go.
Meter.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Yeah, again, in this case, Mr. Arlos opening the valves for flooding. And there, the water is rushing into the ballast tank quickly. 4 ballast tank and aft ballast tank.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf Evo-Kurvenwechsel.
Yeah, of course, you want to have this maneuver of diving as fast as possible,
20 Meter.
and you can actually improve it. That's since one of the last updates we have these specialization points here, where we have 3 types of specialization which we can distribute onto the crew. So even the ordinary sailors can be additionally trained. So for example, Mr. Vogel being a silent running specialist, Mr. Ortel sorry guys, being a diving specialist, which would actually mean the more guys you have with this ability of being diving specialist, the faster the diving process actually is. And discipline specialist, this is the 3 specializations that you can do. So I have 7 specialists on silent running, 6 on diving, and 5 on discipline. That's so beautiful.
50 Meter.
Also this underwater view, I love it. Now again, we are silently listening.
Rohr 1 gewartet.
Herr Kapitän. 45 Meter.
Yeah, that's our range. We could mark it for the sake of a better overview. But it looks like
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
there are no contacts around.
Torpedo-Rohr 5 gewartet.
Anblasen. Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Yeah, there we are, back to the surface, and let's carry on with our routine. Yeah, here you see, whenever we are back to the surface, one of the crewmates or officers actually turns on the air compressors, because for each surfacing you use compressed air to push the water out of the ballast tanks. A pump could never do it that fast. So the idea was to use compressed air, and we have a diesel compressor and an electric compressor, and they actually, yeah, that's the routine. Each time you get back to the surface, turn on the compressors, because it's vital to have the full compressed air back again as fast as possible. And time acceleration.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Natürlich, Herr Convoy.
Again, change of watch.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Bestätige.
Here we are, let's do another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Natürlich, Herr Convoy.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter.
Yeah, the wind has gone up, weather has been deteriorating, so we will have a relatively slow detection radius of the hydrophone. Rather strong winds, probably quite a bit of a swell, and rain. But bucketing down on the sea. Everything giving us a lot of background noise, reducing the hydrophone range.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Like to, yeah, actually below 70 miles.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Convoy? 45 Meter.
Anblasen. Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Convoy, Sie sind aufgetaucht.
Yeah, there's snow falling, although it's summer. It's July, there is snow up here.
Wechselschutz besetzen.
No, please do the navigation, not the deck gun.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Alright, the weather has improved. Let's do another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Yeah, it is. Look at that. So, the sky is cloudy and the sun is shining just underneath the clouds where it is about to set. But as we have the midnight sun at the moment, it will never set. It would probably just, not even touch down onto the horizon at 12 o'clock. There we go.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Next hydrophone check. Fingers crossed that we find something. The rain should be a bit better this time. Wind speed has calmed down to 12 knots. And it's not snowing and storming anymore. So we should have a decent range as soon as we have turned off the engines.
Meter.
Yeah, that's a decent range.
50 Meter.
Fingers crossed that we get something.
Meter.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Convoy?
Yeah, as there are no scripted encounters, but everything just comes natural. Of course, this sometimes becomes a bit of a chore to do the hydrophone checking again and again, because there is real convoys passing the seas on real routes, and we don't know them. We have to figure out actually where they are. And the hydrophone is a wonderful tool because it has this enormous detection range, but still, if you look at the endless size of the ocean, still this enormous hydrophone detection range becomes kind of tiny.
Anblasen.
All right,
20 Meter.
back to the surface.
5 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Convoy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
$11 and let's check it. 12 o'clock. Yeah, okay, see the sun almost but not quite touches the horizon at midnight. So the sun is getting deeper. Half a month ago So 1 or 2 weeks ago it was still a few fingers width above the horizon, and now it almost touches the horizon at 12 o'clock. So we are getting shorter and shorter days, and soon at least the sun might vanish at around 12 o'clock midnight. Let's give it a save. W358.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung. Jawohl, Herr Kaloy.
And let's do the next hydrophone check.
Navigation besetzen.
That's the routine. Every 6 hours, something like that. Every 4 or every 6 hours. Again, crew, off-watch crew, assembling in the front compartment, given dive and ballast. Mr. Grade has just opened the valves. 2 guys have manned the depth steers, and the ballast tanks are being flooded.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Yeah, from a plane you might still spot the submarine. But only from a steep angle, actually.
Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Herr Kaloy.
Meter.
Yeah, come on, it would be so great if we were running into another enemy convoy, or maybe even a lone merchant, after we had abandoned the chase onto that heavily guarded convoy. We actually managed to track down a single lone British merchantman and sank it with the deck gun. I think we did, right? Let's check the stores. We should see it. Yes, we only have 3 rounds of the deck gun left. You wouldn't do much with just 3 rounds of the deck gun.
50 Meter.
Herr Kaloy. Aktuelle Tiefe 45. Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
Anblasen.
No contacts again. Look at that tiny submarine in the endless voids of the sea.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Yeah, let's go for 6 hours and then do the next hydrophone check. Here we are. 12 o'clock lunchtime. There is a faint moon up there. Also, this is nicely simulated in the game, and when you're further south and you really have dark nights, the moon is something that makes a tactical difference. So if you have the moon up, you might well have sufficient light to go in for an attack. But if you have no moon, nights might be so dark that it's almost impossible to track down your targets. So, next hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln. Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Next check.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Yeah, we have pretty fair weather, so perfect radar, perfect hydrophone range.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
And back to the surface.
20 Meter. Auf diese Motoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht. Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy. Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung. Betrachten Sie es als erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
So another 6 hours, another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
I don't know if this makes any sense or whether all the convoys would be here.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
Navigation besetzen.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren
Alright,
wechseln.
down we go.
25 Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
Hi guys, by the way, I just see
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
that there are a few more people in the stream, so as I used to remark, don't feel observed, I don't see your names. I just see the number going up. You're completely anonymous. And I pretty much appreciate if you just silently watch. Lurking is fine.
Aktuelle Tiefe.
But yeah, let me mention as well that
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
you would make a little streamer like me a little bit more happy if you would put some comment into the chat. So don't hesitate to give some feedback into the chat, what you think about the game. Do you play it by yourself? What you think about the stream? Or just give a high thumbs up or where you're from, roughly. But don't feel pushed. Just if you feel like just lurking, just watching, that's perfectly fine. By the way, I am German, which you might have guessed by my accent. And yeah, I'm living in the Frankfurt area. Yeah, yeah, maybe you don't know, but there is actually 2 Frankfurts in Germany. One in the very east and one in the very west. And yeah, I live in the very west one, the one that you know. Well, actually, I'm not living in Frankfurt. I'm actually working in Frankfurt. That was a bit unprecise, and I'm living something like 50 kilometers west of Frankfurt. Hey shit, I missed the hydrophone check, but there was nothing, was it?
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motorenwechsel.
45 Meter.
Anblasen.
Still nothing.
50 Meter.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
10 o'clock is change of watch.
Aufgetaucht.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Let's go for another 4 hours till 2 o'clock, and we are gonna do the next hydrophone check. Here we are.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, this is the midnight sun. Yeah, not quite midnight, but it's 2 o'clock in the night, and the sun is high up in the northeast to be precise. So what's happening inside? Off-watch crew is running to the front compartment to give additional diving ballast. Somebody has opened the valves here. Depth steers being manned, and the ballast tank being flooded. 4 ballast tank first, and stern ballast tank second, and down we go.
45 Meter.
Yeah, I'm doing a bit of time acceleration at the moment.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloi.
7 knots of wind speed, perfect weather, so we should have the maximum detection range. Yeah, we do have.
Ja. Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Yeah, come on. Let's see if we hear something.
Meter. Anblasen. Auf
So
Dieselmotoren wechseln.
there was nothing.
Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Yeah, the question now is, do I really want to continue that?
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Change of watch.
Navigation besetzen.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Next hydrophone check. Let's give it a save here.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter. 45 Meter.
Okay, electric engines turned off, giving us the maximum detection range. Yeah, nice.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Herr Kapitän.
But
50 Meter.
no contacts actually. Yeah, these waters here in the north seem to be pretty deserted.
Anblasen.
30 Meter.
Yeah, that's what also other guys said in the stream, that
Convoy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
it is actually pretty hard to track down convoys in the Arctic Convoys mission set up here in the north.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Bestätige. 2 o'clock. Next hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Jawohl.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
5 Meter. Auf E-Motoren wechseln. Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Meter.
Anblasen.
Okay, there was nothing.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kapitän? Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht. Herr Kaloy? Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Mr. Schulz, navigation please. 2 more hours and next hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
50 Meter.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Ja?
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
Anblasen. Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Yeah, we're just not finding any more convoys. Hi guys, great to have you in the stream. I just see the number going up, so don't feel observed. Perfectly fine if you just lurk. But yeah, always great to get some feedback in the chat just as well, but do how you like. Yeah, at the moment we are doing the Arctic Convoy mission set, and it's a bit of a chore to do all that hydrophone checking and see if we find somebody, some convoy.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloy.
Here we are, next hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
50 Meter. Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
No contact. See, we did all this way here checking it.
40 Meter.
Just don't run into any contact. Yeah, we're gonna go down here and then back to Bergen. So we have finished the mission anyway.
20 Meter.
We have sank the 4,000 tons, by far more than 4,000 tons, and we have traveled the distance that we should. So the mission is long done. I was just hoping for another, victim to use up the remaining torpedoes that I still have, and maybe sink another 1 or 2 merchantmen.
Navigation besetzen.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Another 2 hours, so at 8 o'clock we are gonna do the next hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf
Here we are.
50 Meter.
Yeah, and I love this. The crew running to the fore compartment. Depth charge is being manned. 1 guy still missing, so flank, guys. And yeah, that can be done a bit faster next time, please. And Mr. Ahl is opening the valves to let the seawater stream into the ballast tanks. There it goes.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy? Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Yeah, look at the depth steers, how they actually level out the depth when reaching the 50 meters. Yeah, that everything's so dynamic. That's just great. Here we are, 50 meters. Listening again. Silently. So guys, fingers crossed that we find something, that we hear something. Please give me some contacts. Discipline is alright. Yeah, with almost 60% of fuel, we have plenty of fuel left for our travel back home. And there we are, back to the surface. No contacts again. At least we have fair weather since a while. Here we go, change of watch. And another 4 hours, and we will do the next hydrophone check at 2 o'clock. So this is most probably an airplane. 330 degrees means it's minus 30. So now the big question is this an airplane or is this a ship or a convoy? So let me be AFK just for 1 minute and then we will try to resolve it. Hey, Aussie. Nice to have you in. Hi, sorry, I was just AFK for a minute. So I hope you're still there. You just dropped in when we got a radar signal with our passive radar detection. So there seems to be something over there. Ah, great that you're still there. Wonderful. From Australia. So what's the time over there? So here in Germany it's 1 o'clock. So is it morning or something? Yeah, 9 o'clock in the morning, yeah. Nice that you're in. So may I ask you where you're from, roughly? I'm actually from the Frankfurt area in Germany. And yeah, let's act like what you would do in real U-boat life. You would dive. Let's go for periscope depth. Now let's do the hydrophone check, actually. I want to find out whether... Queensland, nice, yeah. Let's go to periscope depth and find out whether this is an airplane, or maybe we are lucky and this is a ship or a convoy.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. Auf Seemotoren wechseln. Meter.
Yes, yeah, I heard that about Chuck Norris, yeah. Just read it. 86, well, that's a decent age.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
That's a decent age. I was just a little bit, yeah, let me not say pissed off, but taken aback a bit by my favorite newspaper from Frankfurt, which is usually pretty serious, and, well, they reported that Chuck Norris died, and all they did was quoting something like 20 Chuck Norris jokes, which I found a bit weird.
50 Meter.
Yeah, 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 good point. One more childhood hero gone, yeah. Yeah, but there is still Mr. Schwarzenegger and there is still Bruce Willis. But, well, we all know that Bruce Willis has his health problems, but he's still alive. Yeah, okay, so this pretty much looks like there is no ship around. So that was probably an airplane coming in. This. if we wouldn't hear anything. There is nothing. Jackie Chan, yeah. Stallone, Jackie Chan, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I would feel, I'm not sure, I'm not that much of a Jackie Chan fan, but I think he was later, wasn't he? I mean, there was Stallone, there was Arnie, and I think Jackie Chan became famous later, wasn't it? Or was it the same era and I just wasn't aware of him before? Yeah, now let's be careful. We don't want to broach the surface, so let's first go to 20 meters. Mid-80s, yeah. I think I only became aware of Jackie Chan in the 90s. Same mid-90s, actually. Never, pretty sure that I never heard of Jackie Chan in the 80s. Yes, so let's go stepwise towards Periscope. Yeah, probably the plane is long gone, but I'm sure it was a plane. Yeah, but there are other heroes. Like one of my heroes from back then is Harrison Ford, actually. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Apocalypse Now. Well, I think he just had this very small role in Apocalypse Now in the beginning scene. But still. I would also name Harrison Ford with great ones. Now we have to check what's going on up there. Yes, yep. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it makes you feel pretty old to watch these movies now and then suddenly recognize that they are already something like 30 years old. So maybe I would better have the... Yeah, come on, let's... So it was 30 degrees. Yeah, we would not spot anything like that. I think we will just have to get back to the surface. Let's give it a save to be safe, and then maybe let's just go deck awash.
5 Meter. Funkmesssignale geortet. Peilung 280.
280. So it must be somewhere over there.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloin, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Not sure if they would detect us like that. I wonder if I should blow the tanks. Could I man the deck gun, being deck awash? Yeah, Mr. Scholz is just turning on the air compressor. Let him do that. And then try. Let's see, can we send him for the deck gun? Obviously not. Yeah, well, we don't want to operate the deck gun, we want to operate the flag. So.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
So, let's change, let's turn around. Oh yeah,
Kurs setzen.
it's just the other way around, yeah.
Äußerste Kraft voraus.
Yeah, interesting that you can't man the deck gun when you're deck awash. Somehow makes sense, doesn't it? It's an air patrol. The question is whether they are gonna detect us or not. Yeah, maybe they're just passing by. Yeah, a bit of time acceleration. At the moment it doesn't quite look like they're homing in on us. Maybe just passing by. But you never know. At least they are still in range.
Torpedo vor 1 gewartet.
And there they are gone. Signal lost. Oh yeah, I mean the tankers and the merchants, they actually count. But if you sink a warship, a man of war, be it a cruiser or battleship or just an escort destroyer, that just doesn't count for the tonnage. And the planes also don't count for the tonnage. You just get a bit of reputation for a plane. And if you save the crew, you get a bit more reputation and you get some budget for it, some Reichsmark. But, well, I mean, budget, at least for me in the games that I did, budget was never quite the limiting factor. So when you once are going, you have plenty of budget. I think they could do that, change that a bit. I think it would be nice balancing if this about the budget might become a bit more a critical factor than it is in the game right now. So guys, let's get back to the surface, blow the tanks, and yeah, Mr. Schulz, you can step away from the flak guns.
Kurs setzen.
Yeah, so that's a bit unclear now. Could it really be that this plane was coming from that Dundee airbase down there, or does it mean that there is a carrier somewhere around? Change of watch.
Benötige etwas Unterstützung.
And let's do the next hydrophone check.
Navigation besetzen.
Here we go.
Laufen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, well, you get a score. Here, this is actually what you have to do, right? You have to fulfill tonnage, but you only get tonnage for merchantmen. I mean, merchantmen and tankers. And I think this somehow feels authentic to me, because the mission of submarines was not actually to sink warships, men of war, but the mission actually was to sink as many merchantmen as possible to bring down the trade, the supply lines. And so I think it feels, to me, it feels kind of realistic that sinking man of war was not rewarded. Maybe the command even was unpleased if you took too much risk against men of war. They really only wanted to bring down merchant tonnage, tanker tonnage. That's what I think. So in the beginning I was also slightly, taken aback by this concept. But meanwhile, I think it feels consistent. Now doing another hydrophone check. Fingers crossed, but actually I lost faith that we might find any more escort, any more convoy in this mission, and maybe we will just return back home. Which is alright, because we fulfilled the mission, we sank a tanker and a merchant man, and we have actually done a bit of tonnage. Yeah, they are, yep. So, my tactics actually is, since this sound-seeking torpedo is available, I usually put these T5 Soundkönig torpedoes into the stern, so that, well, in an emergency situation, when you suddenly have an escort pacing in on you from astern, you could fire one of these sound-seeking torpedoes. So when they are head on to you and you're not broadsides with them, or they are not broadsides with you, you have almost no chance of hitting them with a conventional torpedo. But this one here, this would go after their propeller noise, and usually one hit sinks a destroyer or a corvette. So I still now and then sink men of war, but usually only in self-defense. Something like a year ago I did sink my last battleship. I have it on my YouTube channel. So I'm a bit proud of that, but usually I wouldn't actually go after a battleship, because still you don't get that tonnage accounted for. And this is something, I mean, if you sink a capital ship, I think they might account the tonnage for you. And still no contact. Some acceleration again. And there we go. Back to the surface. Yeah, in this view the time acceleration always looks a bit awkward. I love the graphics so much, but having this view in time acceleration is always a bit of an immersion killer, I would say. But like this, I love the graphics of the game. It's so beautiful. I could watch this for long minutes. Like here, the bow cutting through the waves, throwing up the spray high into the sun. Yeah. I love it. Get another save and carry on. Yeah, also I remember you have been in my stream before. It's some time ago, but So I'm very glad to see that you are actually revisiting that channel, although, well, I mean, being on opposite sides of the world, the timing is always a bit tricky, actually. Hey, Lord of Choco, long time no see. Nice to have you in. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, just lurk, perfectly fine, but it's great that you make yourself noticeable once. Wonderful to know that you're there. Hope you're fine, hope you had a good time. Yeah, I think it has been a week or something, maybe more, since we last met in the stream. So we are pacing on.
Elbefahrt voraus.
Yeah, at the moment I'm doing hydrophone checks every 6 hours. Some people say that this is a little bit far apart, but wow, now we have night time. Now it's 12 o'clock, and now we have been going quite far to the south, and here now north of, what is it, the Orkney Islands, now Shetland. So now we have moved from here to here, and this is enough so that we don't have the midnight sun anymore. So the sun has dropped just below the horizon, and still we have a lot of daylight. Yeah, this is actually here, look at that. We are on the level of Reykjavik, roughly, and I have been in Reykjavik and I had been hiking in Iceland quite some time ago. We were around here, and I think it was roughly July or a bit later, and I remember that it never really got dark. We didn't really see the midnight sun, but yeah, the sun did set, but it never really went dark in the night, just like we have it here. Very beautiful how this is modeled. By the way,
Tauchen auf.
let's do one more hydrophone check.
Herr Kapitän.
And see what we hear. Yeah, tonight the stream is not so populated, obviously. So I'm glad to have you in, guys.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. Auf E-Motoren wechseln. Meter.
Yeah, down we go. Engine stopped at 50 meters and listening for 5 minutes. That's the routine.
40 Meter.
There we are.
Schraubengeräusche. Gruppe. Peilung.
Wow. After all these hydrophone checks, endless chart of hydrophone checks, we finally have a contact. Large group closing in. Wow, great. This was what we were looking for. So, our patience seems to pay out. Let's give it a mark on the map. It's roughly here. Ah, no.
45 Meter. Herr Kaloy?
Convoy. It's the third convoy this mission. Roughly here.
Ja?
Alright, nice. Let's finish the hydrophone check, the 5 minutes of hydrophone check anyway. You never know, there might be other contacts around. Then get back to the surface and flank speed towards that target. And then after 1 hour we are gonna do a second hydrophone check, and this will give us a second data point of their position. And only then we could estimate their course and their speed. Great, guys. So our patience seems to pay out finally. We are gonna see some action. And it's not that late yet. I mean, in real life it's not that late yet. So we still have a bit of time to actually go for that. Oh, but I have to take care of the galley. We almost ran out of food in the galley. That's something you should really avoid. There we are. Time of the day. It's midnight, but yeah, it's pretty bright midnight.
Herr Kapitän?
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Now some slight time acceleration. And getting back to the surface. So blowing the tanks. Here we see how the compressed air is pushing the water back into the open sea out of the ballast tanks. And yeah, that was actually the invention back then. The realization that a pump would never do that fast enough down there. You would have needed so much pumping power. And then, well, somebody had the good idea to just store compressed air to push the water out of the ballast tanks. And here we are. Let's go straight for them. Let's go flank speed. And let's assume that these guys are moving with something like, yeah, 8 knots. If it's a standard convoy, they would be at maximum moving with 8 knots. And when we go flank speed, let's do a bit of dead reckoning. We would go for 16 miles in 1 hour. That's actually what I'm just calculating. How far would we go in 1 hour? How far would they go in 1 hour? So we don't quite know, but we would expect them to be somewhere on that circle. The hydrophone check said that they were moving towards us, which is good. Ah, hi, Collie. Nice to have you in. The simmer dim. Yeah, okay. Yep. You mean this, like when you had this twilight, right? Yep. Yeah. Talked about Shetland. I've been doing hiking with my wife in Shetland quite some years ago, so we went to that airport in the south. I don't remember the name, and I think this is the capital here somewhere. And yeah, we went hiking in different parts here, and we also went up to this island, but I have to admit that I don't remember the name. But it was a beautiful holiday. It actually was our honeymoon. To Shetland. A hiking trip to Shetland. And somewhere here in the north we went into real bad weather. I think, yeah, it was even around here. But shit, I just don't remember the details anymore. I would have to check a more detailed map. I think we went to the very north west of the mainland. And ran into a pretty tough storm there when we camped in the countryside, in the heather. Like, well, our tent was really kind of flattened by the storm, but well, it still stood against the storm. But not much sleep in that night. There we go, flank speed. By the way, Colin, nice to have you in. I hope you're fine. Hope you had a good Friday. And now we are all smoothly slipping into the weekend. Yeah, you come in right in time. I don't know, or maybe you were lurking in the background, but if you just dropped in right now, you came right in time, because just a minute ago we detected this convoy after having done all this hydrophone checking again and again. And now finally we seem to become, rewarded. Now 1 hour. Till 1:10, I think. So here we are. And let's do another hydrophone check and see what their rough position is right now. Hey, by the way, Aussie, thank you very much for the follow. I thought you had been in the stream before. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought to remember your name from earlier conversations. So I only now see that you gave me the follow. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. I just thought that you were following already. But thanks, that's great. I hope you're still there to receive my thanks.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
40 Meter.
Now, curious what their position would be right now. But I have to be AFK just for 1 minute. Sorry, guys.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 0 Grad.
Now, let's see where they are. A convoy, large convoy, it's usually going 7 or 8 knots. I once or twice had a smaller convoy which was actually going with 10 knots, but that's pretty seldom, I would say, pretty extraordinary. Mm-hmm.
50 Meter.
So that's the second data point. Nice.
Herr Kaloy?
All right.
45 Meter.
So they are going with 6 or 7 knots. So Colin, have you been on Shetland? I pretty much liked it. We have met a few very nice guys there. Particularly in that very northwest. In a completely remote place, we had bed and breakfast with a guy. And so, yeah, that was a wonderful 2 days we had there. And one evening, we just sat down with him at his oven, his stove, and well, it was actually a peat stove originally, but at one point they all changed it to oil, I think. And yeah, we just spent hours in the evening, deep into the night, and he was telling us beautiful stories about his life, like what it was when he was young. He was pretty old back then, and he told us how it was when he was young, that he went out in a boat with his friends to go for lobster. And that back then there were loads of lobsters in the sea. And now it's, almost none anymore. Yeah. And yeah, he said that he was working as a fisherman and that he was working on an oil rig actually for a bit of time. That was so amazing. So he was so very typical. I mean, like, so he was so typical that you might have thought that he was hired by kind of a tourist board to entertain tourists or something, but it was all just true. Yeah, he told us about the time when they went into the peat to get the peat for their stoves, and yeah, that at one point the government gave them money to turn all these stoves into oil-driven stoves. And yeah, I remember that he was a bit pissed off at that time because the oil prices were high, and he was thinking like he might better have stayed with the peat.
Anblasen.
Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Yeah, the Shetland Islands, they are beautiful. I really loved that.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
And I remember back then that at one point I was pretty surprised that I was so nicely able to understand the Shetlanders. And finally, well, I think it was like they don't have English as their native language, so they are speaking English a bit like a foreign language. And they have this Norse, is it correct? Norse or something? They have their very particular language up there, which is even different from Scots. And so they have this kind of very particular dialect or language, and I wouldn't understand anything when they talk in that language. But when they speak English, it's a bit like, for them, it seemed to me also being like a bit of like a foreign language, and it was very easy to understand their English, which was a bit of a surprise because from Scotland I was used to, well, it differed. So I think I was a bit used to the Scottish accent, but I'm always struggling with accents, even in German. I'm not very good with accents, actually. That one in the north, Yell is the very north one, yeah, and there is another one a bit further south. Was it with an O? Let me take a look at the map. So, so is it Yell is this one or this one? I think we were on that one here, and it had a different name. Let me check it on the map. If I see it, I will remember. But maybe you're right. Never know. So, okay. Lerwick. That's the capital. And let's see. What about Zambra? Yeah. The airport in the very south in Zambra. Yep. Then Lerwick. Yell. Yeah, okay, you're right. That's Yell. Okay, so I mixed it up. I think Yeah, oh, Anst. Yeah, we went to Anst actually. I think we haven't been visiting Yale, but we went straight to Anst. That's it. Yeah. So we did spend a few days on Anst. I remember that there was a little nice fishing museum, but I don't remember. Was it in Bermond? Underhole? Baltersound, that kind of rings a bell. Yeah, but yeah, it's quite some time ago. I have to admit that I don't remember too many details. That's a pity. That's really a pity now that I think of it. That I really forgot so many things about that wonderful holiday. Yeah, it was Anst actually, where we went. Now, let's do another. One hour of travel. We are back to the surface, and let's get another data point. Something like that. Hey, stop it.
Peilung 5 Grad.
5 degrees. So do we already have their signature? Now, if they are going like that, no, they would be there. Let's see. Not too far away by now. So we're already picking up their radar signals. Wouldn't have expected that already now.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
So let's get down, do another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, exactly. And we went to Anst. Yep. And up there on Anst, I remember that we had pretty rainy weather, and we actually didn't pitch our tent, but went for bed and breakfast. Yep. Yeah, they were Norwegian originally, and I think this is a big influence of the language, right? So their language is quite some mixture of Scottish and Norwegian, if I remember right.
25 Meter.
Yeah, probably they were occupied in the Viking Age, I would guess.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy? 45 Meter.
All right, where are they? Yeah, my dad reckoning is okay. Convoy 03.
50 Meter.
Yeah, all right. That's it. Let's still finish the hydrophone check,
35 Meter.
just in case there might some other contacts come into range. But we are in a beautiful interception position.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Yeah, it's 2:30 in the night and we already have sunrise. Any more contacts?
Warte Ihre Befehle.
No, it's just fine.
Anblasen.
Yeah, back to the surface.
Diese Motoren wechseln.
And now
Convoy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
let's give it some estimate. If we are going like that, and they would be going like that. Yeah, we would be just too close. I think I would have to get below the surface earlier, or I would run into their radar range, radar detection range. So let's go for that. 11 miles, and they should be somewhere here. Look at that, how beautiful the reflections. Wow. Yeah, we do have quite a swell actually. What's the wind speed? Just 8 knots. That's an enormous swell for 8 knots, I would say. Hey, weight loss. Nice to have you in. How are you doing? How was your Friday? Yeah, so you drop in just in time. See, so we had hours of a chore doing hydrophone check after hydrophone check. But finally, we found a convoy, and right now we are putting ourselves into position right in front of that convoy. So, action is imminent.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
There we go.
Herr Kaloy,
Okay. Are they still so far away? That's a bit surprising.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
So there we go. And give us another hydrophone check.
Achten auf 50 Meter.
They should be closer actually. They should be closer than that. Yeah, yep. So I'm a bit surprised that the radar contacts were still so far away, while I would have estimated them to be actually somewhere around here. But the radar contacts were all around here. Let's see what the hydrophone will tell us.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. E-Motoren wechseln.
Schrauben
Of course, the radar detector only is sensitive for warships with radar. And it might well be that the warships with radar are somewhere trailing behind, which would not be very smart, but might be. And the rest of the convoy is ahead of them. Let's see. Yeah, looks like that. Pretty much looks like that the radar-bearing units, military units, are actually trailing behind the convoy, which would be nice if they keep it up.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
50 Meter.
Yeah, that's exactly where I would have expected them to be. Distance 11 miles. So I think now it is the time to go for periscope depth. Yes, definitely. Yep, it's a different one. Yep. Yeah, good point. Look at that. So that was this convoy here, and we lost it. They must have changed course somewhere. So no idea where this convoy actually went. And so we went south, and now we are actually going for a completely different convoy. Yeah, good remark, Colin. Just for the sake to make it clear.
Meter.
Yeah, they are going with 7 knots to 8 knots, something like that.
20 Meter.
Yeah, here we are.
Halbe Fahrt voraus. Tauchen auf 10 Meter.
Let's go for 10. Carefully, step by step. Yeah, but we are so far away still, so overshooting might not be a problem, but well, maybe it might be, because it would make us visible to their radar. Oh, let's hope that I don't get a cold. That I didn't catch a cold. And now go for periscope depth.
Herr Kaloin, wir sind auf Seerohrtiefe.
Yeah.
Rundblick eingesteuert.
Very nice. Yeah, nice. We already see the smoke columns on the horizon. Now, Captain, please man the periscope and give me some overview. There comes the periscope. Does it? Yeah, let's poke it up. It's completely unrisky on that distance. Okay, looks like they're all moving more to the left. But as usual, I think that they are probably zigzagging.
Kurs setzen.
Let's go like that and carry on. Maybe I should take a look at the bilge. Ah, quite a bit of water in the bilge. Get it out.
Pumpe einschalten.
Please turn on the pump. Yeah, battery capacity is fine, so I think we don't have to worry about that.
Herr Kaloy?
There they are. And let's do a bit of acceleration now.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
Now let's see. Okay, now it pretty much looks like I am more or less dead ahead of them.
Kurs setzen.
Torpedorohr 5.
Let's see that we get in sneakily.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
So by now they're there. What's the distance? Give it an estimate. 8 miles. Yep. All right. Yeah, still, I think that they might be zigzagging and turning around sooner or later. So maybe at the moment they are going something like that. And then after something like half an hour latest, they might go back like that. This is this large-scale zigzagging, which they do later in the game, later in the war. And that makes it even more tricky to actually track them down. But that's not quite clear. The smoke columns don't look like that they're moving that far away from the course. Pretty hard to judge. Might be. So let's change course a bit like that.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet. Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Very good. Mr. Schneider doing the maintenance.
Ja? Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Okay, this is a big baby.
Alarm! Konvoi in Sicht. Peilung 30 Grad.
Alright. Maybe it makes sense. And maybe I want to have you guys on
Schleichfahrt.
silent running now. And maybe I want to have you, Mr. Gerade, when you have closed the bulkhead. Please assist the crewmates at the depth keeping. At the depth steers. So here Mr. Gerade is now giving them some supervision to make sure that we don't approach the surface.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Jawohl, ich kümmere mich drum.
Wow, this is gonna become tough. This is gonna become tough. Again, we will have these men of war escorts being around. Yeah.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Kurs setzen.
Let's go for kleine Fahrt to be as silent as possible.
Kurs setzen.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
3 miles. Yeah, okay. They are coming in straight for me. 50 degrees. Okay. That is definitely an escort.
Kurs setzen.
That would be a good victim. But I think there is an escort as well. That one is a big baby. And that one as well. If I go for 30.
Kurs setzen.
gonna be hard. Gonna be a bit of a matter of bad luck or good luck. If we might manage to infiltrate the convoy. Hey, Aquising. Yeah, good evening. And you just drop in the right moment. So we have been doing hours of fruitless hydrophone checking, and finally we found a convoy, and this is what we are doing right now. Yeah, Liberty. So maybe I would just stop here, stop that, and be silent. Let's see if we can do it like we did it in the last encounter. To be completely silent and infiltrate them.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Convoy?
Be great to go for that guy. That's Fat Baby. And we need to avoid this one, which is military. This, I'm not sure, but this pretty much looks like a tanker, does it? So, if you ask me, it pretty much looks like they have changed course again there by 90 degrees, and now they are heading straight for me. They are all just turning around. I bet that they are all just turning around. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. It's gonna be more and more tricky to infiltrate the convoys. Yeah, maybe a C3, yeah. And this one there. There is an escort heading more or less straight towards me. This escort pretty much looks like heading straight towards us as well. Oh, come on. Come on, this is gonna be tough again. I don't know, is this really a C3? Does a C3 have this big building on top of it? Not quite sure. What is this one? Let's hide away our periscope for now. And village is alright. And stop the engines. Let's just wait for them to run over us. Give it a save. Sorry, that was not what I intended to do. Here we are. Hey, Mr. Dumrick, very much appreciated. Thank you very much for the follow. And nice to have you in. So, yeah, perfectly fine if you just lurk, but don't hesitate to make yourself visible in the chat if you like to. If you prefer to just watch, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, thank you very much for the follow. Yeah, of course, this third-person view that I do here, it's a bit of cheating, one could say, but yeah, let's not be over 100%. So this is an escort. I think this one is an escort. And let's keep fingers crossed that this escort is not. No shit. They did spot us then. stay silent for now. But what I need to do now is make sure that the torpedoes are well maintained. And all of them are, yeah, as soon as you go for silent running, the maintenance would be stopped. Yeah, please. Same for Mr. Arles. Please do the maintenance. Oh, come on. Let's hope that they're not getting us. Problem is that the maintenance of the torpedoes, of course, does create extra noise. Which might be spotted by that guy, detected by that guy over there. He's passing by pretty close. Yeah, let's keep fingers crossed that he would not detect us. This one. That's the one passing by. Yeah, we're really laying an ambush on them. That guy is passing by.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum. Kommandant.
Okay, that one maintenance didn't quite work out. Weird. Starless. I need the maintenance now. Yes, yeah. I think they are just about doing that 90 degrees change. Like they were going like that and now they have changed course to go like that. 100% agree. So they should be going something like that by now, just to have the bearing. But maybe this is gonna bring me in a very nice firing position. Problem is that this guy there seems to be headed straight for me. And this guy is an escort. Pretty sure. Yeah. Ah, come on. This guy is heading too much straight for me. That's not good. That's not good. This guy is passing. Right. Above us. Let's see if he's gonna detect us. That's not good. That's not good. Let's hope that he's still changing course. Is he? No. Alright, the torpedoes are well maintained. If only this guy wouldn't be that close. I am in a perfect shooting position.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen. Kleine Fahrt zurück.
Oh God. Oh God. Fingers crossed. No hedgehogs yet. Which is good. You're right. That was actually the first thing that I was looking at as well.
Kommandant, wir wurden entdeckt. Wir wissen, wie es geht.
Hey, come on, no, no, please not. They have heard our engines, have they? They are ringing alarm. They are ringing alarm and heading for us, aren't they? Shall I give him?
Zerstörer, direkt voraus.
Where is he? That guy. Velocity 10, whatever, angle on bow 0, distance 300 and
Rohr 1 bewässern.
let's go for 3 4.5. Let's go for 4. Depth of 4. And
Los!
fire.
40 Sekunden bis Torpedoeinschlag. 30 Sekunden. 20 Sekunden. 10 Sekunden bis Einschlag. Treffer. Schwere Schäden.
Alright, that guy should be out.
Zerstörer, 315 Grad. Zerstörer, 315 Grad. Zerstörer, 330
Sie gehen unter.
Sehr gut gemacht. Das war ein brillanter Schuss. Weiter so. Augen auf und immer bereit für die nächste. No, I don't want to go for the wreckage. Go for the freighter, and it's a... Is the Liberty? No. It's a C3. Pretty sure. Velocity 7. Angle on bow. It's a guesstimate. It's a bit like that. Let's give it a save for now.
Alle Maschinen stopp.
So it is almost 0 degrees. So it must be something like almost 90. Must be something like that. And distance. Give it a guesstimate. Quick. Alright.
Aktualisieren. Entfernung
So.
zum Ziel 8, 3,
Depth
7
7.5.
Rohr 2 bewässern.
Rohr 2 bewässert.
Schussunterlagen aktualisieren.
Yeah, please.
Winkel 8,
No.
8, rechts. Los. Rohr 3 bewässern.
Kommandant, wir wurden entdeckt.
Bleibt wachsam, aber keine Panik. Wir machen das schon.
Kommandant, wir wurden von Estik geortet.
40 Sekunden bis Torpedoeinschlag. Los. Rohr 4 bewässern.
Rohr 4 bewässert.
30 Sekunden. 40 Sekunden bis Torpedoeinschlag. Los. 20 Sekunden. 20 Sekunden. 30
That guy's going for us. He detected us. He did.
10 Sekunden bis Einschlag. Treffer. 20 Sekunden. Minimale Schäden. 10 Sekunden bis Einschlag. Feindliches Schiff getroffen. Minimale Schäden.
Oh shit.
Ja.
Okay, that guy was a miss. And this was only minimal damage, so the guy's not gonna sink. Wow. Too bad. Watch out for the flower class, yeah. Think.
Kleine Fahrt voraus.
Kommandant, wir wurden von Estig geortet.
Too bad, too bad. We hit him twice, but twice only minimal damage. Okay. Oh shit. That sounded like... Okay, that's a bug, is it? I mean, that sounded like hedgehogs, but there's no any ship around having hedgehogs. But
Feindliche Schiffe geben Alarm.
Wir wissen, wie es geht. Drehen wir den Spieß gegen diese Jäger um.
maybe
Von Estig geortet.
maybe we should.
Sehr nah.
Okay, they're dropping. Okay, they're loading. Do we get here? Guys, please. Quick. No.
Rohr 1 bewässern.
345. Yeah, come on,
Schussunterlagen aktualisieren.
please.
Winkel 1, 1, 2. Bug rechts. Los. 40 Sekunden bis Torpedoeinschlag. 30 Sekunden.
Yeah. This is no
20
guessing.
Sekunden. 10 Sekunden bis Einschlag.
I don't think that this is gonna hit.
Feindliches Schiff getroffen.
Wow.
Schwere Schäden.
At least. At least we got that one. And this one. Is the coaster just as well? I don't know. No, not really. Who are you?
Kommandant, feindliche Schiffe geben Alarm.
Keine Panik. Konzentriert euch auf eure Aufgaben.
It's a Liberty. It's a Liberty, and it's going with 7 knots just as well. And the angle on bow is something like that. And the distance is a wild guess. And depth 7.2. Let's go for 7.5.
Rohr 3, bewässern. Kommandant, wir wurden von Estig geortet. Rohr 3 bewässert.
No.
Zerstörer, 315 Grad.
Aktualisieren. Winkel 8.
Kommandant,
8,
feindliche
rechts.
Schiffe machen sich gefechtsbereit.
Gegnerfahrt 7 Knoten. 40 Sekunden.
Wow, wow, wow.
Entfernung 4, 0 Meter. 30 Sekunden.
Wasserbomben. Sehr nah.
Los.
That was a hit, was it? Wow. They're dropping on us. Let's see. Are we getting away? Flank speed. Wow. That was...
80 Meter.
I told you. Yeah, you did. You did tell me. And maybe we were just in time to get away. Of course, yeah, you were right. But I think we might have sunk 2 of them. We'll see. Allow me to be AFK just for 1 minute, and then let's see how this is gonna evolve. Yeah, I hope that we just got away from the flower class. Let's give it a save. But a new one. W360. mark on the map. So there must be guys somewhere around here. I must have sunk them. The ice class was sunk. Okay, we have that being confirmed. Which means, where are we? Okay. I don't know. That doesn't look like it was accounted for yet. Yeah, we have to report it. We still have to report it.
115 Meter.
Come on, guys, get down fast. They're just passing by above us and dropping, but maybe we were able to just evade your line of keel. Yeah, call it. That was pretty true, yeah.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Convoy?
165 Meter. Kleine Fahrt voraus.
Yeah, we must have sunk the second one as well.
180 Meter.
Yes, yeah. When they turned up, yeah. I have to admit that I'm not aware of that guy, Sir Alex Ferguson.
90 Meter.
You might help me with that. Who that guy is, but yeah, it was kind of that kind of moment. We just did it. At least for that approach, we just did it.
195 Meter. Alle Maschinen stoppen.
Yeah, let's stop to complete silence. Turn off the electric support of the depth steers, and yeah, be completely silent. I mean, there is all that noise of the escort of the merchantmen passing by, so they should really have trouble detecting us down here. Manchester United, okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, okay, now that you say it, I think it rings a bell faintly. But yeah, I'm not that big into football, neither English or UK, but also neither German. The second one sank as well, so we did sink 2 guys. Very good. Of course, there was also a few misses, and we hit that C3 twice and only did minor damage. I think this one is going on, but at least we sank the Empire Farmer and the Isles class. And the ice, yeah, and there should be a third one. We did heavy damage to that other one just as well. That's not depth charge, that's a sinking ship, is it? Let's just hope that the sinking wreck is not hitting us, dropping on our heads.
Schraubengeräusche direkt über uns.
But as long as they're not dropping, I don't hear any depth charts being dropped. I think at the moment there is one guy stationary. Could it be a sinking wreck? Or just a military escort trying to listen for us? They're not dropping. They're not dropping on us, so they don't really know where we are. Noise. That might be the sinking wreck. Sinking ship. Okay, that guy is sinking. That guy is silently circuit searching for us. Yeah, okay. Quite a few guys chasing us. Let's hope that we would get that one accounted for as well. It's sinking. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I was heading backwards to put myself into a better firing position. Yep. So if I wouldn't have turned around, I might have put myself right into the way of their depth charges. Yep. Okay, hey, what is this guy doing? That looks like a collision. I never have seen that before. Are they? I've never seen a collision before. Let's see what that would be like. they just barely got around that wreck. Just so. Alright, this is these ugly hedgehogs. And now I did think a second one. Please account me for the one. I'm pretty sure. Of course, I did hit this guy, and he didn't sink. He was just moving on. But I did severe damage to 2 ships, not just one. Yeah, that's right. He would have rammed my periscope and my conning tower. Yep. Yeah, that was pretty tight. We just got away from that. But come on. The second one must have been sinking just as well. That must have been 2 kills. At least this one is accounted for now. We went up to 181 or 182,000 tons. That's good. Let's just hope that we get away alive from that.
Feindliche Schiffe machen sich gefechtsbereit.
Yeah, okay.
Kommandant, wir wurden von Estig geortet.
Yes, I heard that. Let's just stay silent down here. How much water do we have? Okay, 44 liters. That's uncritical. Yeah, at the moment it pretty much looks like they have no idea where we are. We are just completely silent down here. Yeah, it's getting late. Usually I try to go to bed at 3 o'clock, but now it's passing 3 o'clock. Yeah, come on. Let's finish this one, and it's so great to have you guys in the stream. I think you're probably from the US or Canada. I see the number going up, and at that time it's most probably visitors from over the big pond, which I really appreciate a lot. So great to have you in. Don't worry, I just see the number of watches going up. Right here who you are, don't see your names, so if you just want to lurk, it's perfectly fine. But if you would like to drop some comment into the chat, you would make a little streamer like me a little bit more happy. To give some feedback on what you think about the game, if you played by yourself or just watching streams. Where you're from. Yep. But as I said, don't feel pushed. Perfectly fine if you just lurk. And of course, just any follow would be very much appreciated. Yeah, let's wait it out down here. Yeah, we actually did sink that Corvette. Really want to do it. So, did I already get scored that one? I think I definitely did get scored that one, but I probably didn't yet get scored that one here. So I did sink 2 ships, definitely. Not just one. Okay. More hedgehogs. This guy is firing hedgehogs on us, probably. I don't know. Would they actually have any chance to have these hedgehogs hit us down here? I just want to stay completely silent. Yeah. So I think that was the guy who fired the hedgehog. That's risky. Might be that right now the hedgehogs are dropping down on us, hitting the hull just any minute. But at least they are not dropping depth charges. Yeah, Colin, I saw that they look different. Do you think I wasn't aware of that. Do you think that they actually make a difference? That they could just fire one volley of hedgehogs, and when it's out, they can't do a second one, and you see it graphically? Yeah, maybe you're right. You think that they can reload? I mean, that's the question. How many reloads do they have? But I think that volley didn't hit us actually. Mr. Henrich, you need a cup of coffee, I would say, at the hydrophone.
Verstanden, Kommandant.
You get 2 cups of coffee. Okay, there we get the second ship scored for. Very nice. Let's get a save here. So we actually sank 2 ships of the convoy, and that's a good average. Let's see, how many torpedoes did we fire? One, two, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we fired something like 7 torpedoes and sank 2 ships. That's alright, I would say. We have 1 torpedo left. But let's not reload it right now. Ah, they can reload it, okay. Yep. Question is how often they could reload it. Strain and stress level is to 11%, which is pretty low still. Discipline is 100%. So we are not doing too bad. Yeah, better do damage control now. 200 meters, we are down to almost 200 meters.
Aktuelle Tiefe 190 Meter.
Alright, guys. So, looking at the time, I really have to turn in. Yeah, it's Saturday, tomorrow no work, but still I have to spend the morning breakfast with the family, so yeah, I have to go to bed right now.
185 Meter.
I think that was pretty good. So after having hours and days of hydrophone checking without getting any contacts, we finally got that convoy, and we did successfully infiltrate it and sank 2 ships out of that convoy. I think that's all right.
90 Meter.
So, thank you very much for dropping in. It was a pleasure to have you. And I'm definitely going to do some more U-boat tomorrow night. So, Colin, have a good night. Great to have you in. Aqua Icing, you have been in. I don't know if you're still lurking. If you are, I wish you all the best. Have a good night. Weight loss, same for you. Good night. Aussie, that was much of a pleasure to have you from Australia in the stream. So, good night. Not good night. Have a good day. So, you are just starting. Should be something like 10 o'clock around your place right now. 10 or 11 o'clock, I guess. Lord of Choco, that was great to have you in again. Has been quite some time since we met. And Not Wet, Just Cold. Don't know if you're still there. If you are, have a good night. So, thanks for joining. Aqua Icing, you're still there. Great. Schlaf gut. Ja, das gleiche für dich, Colin. Schlaf gut. Yeah, Aqua Icing in Canada, 10:30. Yeah, okay, so you could still have a few hours until you go to bed. Around here it's 3:30, which is, well, maybe a bit too late to go to bed, but it's fine. So, guys, see you tomorrow and have a good night, bye-bye, or a good evening.